Part 43. Heaven-Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 422. I was going to decide the winner with Li Kahai, but unexpectedly something happened like this. Affected by this shock, many cultivators were knocked down one after another. For a moment, they were on their backs and the scene was extremely chaotic. Li Kahai had just entered the ancient battlefield, but he quickly retreated back. His face was also full of shock, and he looked around in astonishment. Wu Yu was shocked in his heart. Now the entire Yanhuang Emperor city was shaking and trembling. This Yan war obviously could not continue. It is estimated that the imperial war in the inner city would also be stopped. The Yanhuang Emperor city is suspended above the 9 heavens, among the white clouds, surrounded by endless clouds and mist. But now, in the clouds, there is a snake-like giant beast, charging into the Yanhuang Emperor city. Because Yanhuang Emperor city has the most advanced defensive formations, when the giant beast collided, those defensive formations emerged and moved, and for a while the sky was filled with gorgeous and complex symbols. What's this? What's going on? Demons are attacking Yanhuang Emperor city. For a time, the entire Yanhuang Emperor city fell into panic and shock. Ba Snake, Wu Yu's first thought was that he guessed it was Ba Snake, the companion beast of the infant emperor. Although separated by many magic formations, Wu Yu could tell some differences. The head of this giant beast was not as smooth as the Ba Snake, and its eyes were not oily green, so it should not be the Ba Snake. If it wasn't Ba Snake, who could it be? Minglong was also observing. When the entire Yanhuang Emperor city fell into chaos, she quickly reacted and said, "This is a divine dragon." However, the evil spirit is too strong to be considered among the ranks of immortal beasts. It should be the guy named Zilong from the endless demonic sea. Candle King? Yes, this appearance is somewhat similar to Shenlong. But why did Zilong dare to offend Yanhuang Emperor city? In this place, he was seeking death. Generally speaking, the city of Yanhuang Emperor is the last place that monsters want to provoke. After all, Yanhuang Emperor city is strong and does not take the initiative to kill monsters. Speaking of Zilong, Wu Yu immediately thought of another divine dragon here, that is Luo Bin. Luo Bin in her prime state must be stronger than Zilong. At first glance, Luo Bin's expression seemed to have changed. She was next to Wu Yu, and at this time she hid slightly behind Wu Yu. After all, Wu Yu was tall, at least in terms of sight. Standing behind Wu Yu, Zilong can't see her. Could it be that Zilong is here to find her? Wu Yu guessed. Just when I was thinking this, suddenly, there was a roar from the direction of the inner city. The man's voice vibrated and the whole city roared. This man's voice was rich and powerful. "Where is the monster? You dare to break into our Yanhuang Emperor city? Are you tired of living?" Looking closely, he saw a pure black figure rushing towards the sky in the direction of the inner city, passing through many magic circles in an instant, and appeared in front of the Zilong in a very short time. It was only then that the Zilong's attack completely stopped. The shock and chaos in Yanhuang Emperor city finally stopped. "Commander Emperor is up," Wu Yu vaguely heard a certain general say. It turned out to be the handsome emperor. Looking at the black figure, although he has never come close, he is indeed as domineering as the legend says. In fact, many battles in the Yanhuang Emperor city were led by the city lord's younger brother. The Yanhuang city lord did not appear often and was extremely mysterious. "Zilong, it turns out it's you. You are living too comfortably, and you are impatient. You want to come here to seek death, and let me skin you and cramp you, and hang you on the gate of our imperial city." Although the black figure was small, it was evenly matched against the giant Zilong. At this time, Zilong seemed to transform into a person shrouded in black flames. She began to speak, and it turned out to be a woman's voice. Unexpectedly, this ferocious and domineering Zilong was also a female dragon. She said, "This method is just to attract you to show up, so as not to waste time. To be honest, I actually noticed the existence of my Shenlong clan in your Yanhuang Emperor city. You let me go in and search. There is a Shenlong sneaking into your Yanhuang Emperor city. Unexpectedly, after hearing this, the emperor laughed loudly and said very boldly, "Stop your bullshit. First, I know what is in the Yanhuang Emperor city better than you. Second, you are the broken dragon. What kind of dragon is this? You think of yourself as a fairy beast. The real dragon only thinks of you as a disgrace. Don't mess around. Zilong, I advise you to get out of here. Don't say that you want to enter my Yanhuang Emperor city to search. Wait for my brother. If you come out of seclusion and see you dare to attack my Yanhuang Emperor city magic circle, do you believe that what I just said will be true? If he wants to kill you, he doesn't have to spend some effort like me." Zilong was a little sulky and said, "I'm really not kidding you. Our Divine Dragon clan has a much stronger sense of each other than you. Recently, I have noticed that there seems to be a Divine Dragon coming to Dongsheng Shenzhou. Look for it carefully. I just found this place, and when I passed by it, I had a deeper experience. It's just that she knew I existed and was hiding herself at the moment. If you are stubborn, if something happens in the future, it will be your business. Anyway, it is your fault. Huangdi City, I have nothing to do with it." She sneered and said, "Although I am considered a monster, I am also your neighbor on Dongsheng Divine Continent. This is our common territory. Now that outsiders are coming, whether they are divine dragons or not, you and I have to deal with them together." No. Unexpectedly, the emperor's commander sneered and said impatiently, "Gun Gun, who is your neighbor? We only guard Yanhuang Emperor City. I don't care about Dongsheng Shenzhou. I know what you said, no, if you don't worry about it, just get out." When Zilong was angry, the sky was suddenly filled with extremely dense flames. The flames swept everywhere, and when they touched the white clouds, they instantly transformed the white clouds into black flames, so the burning area continued to increase. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Commander Emperor, if you don't listen to my advice and end up suffering a loss, that's your own business. You are not the Shenlong clan. If she really wants to hide, it will not be easy for you to find her, Zilong said sharply. Then the sound was suppressed, and the whole city was suppressed. The monks were frightened, and naturally they did not dare to fly to the sky again. "Do you need to worry about our affairs? Are you so concerned about me? Are you falling in love with me? Tell you, it's no use. I only love the human Xian Niang and have no interest in you, an old monster." The emperor didn't care at all and laughed. Road. These words were harsh and made the Zhuang tremble with anger. Her eyes were on fire and she was gnashing her teeth. But this was the Yanhuang Emperor city after all. The emperor commander and the city lord were both here, and these two people had really weird tempers. She wanted to be here. There is really no benefit to getting angry here, so no matter how angry you are, you can only suppress it. Instead, he sneered and said, "I didn't expect that the legendary emperor commander would have such rude words and such indecent qualities. He is really not a gentleman and is unsightly. In this case, if Yanhuang Emperor City suffers a loss because of this dragon, then don't blame me." After saying that, Zilong disappeared in the clouds and mist, gradually disappearing into the sky. His movements were swift and violent, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Zilong, gone. They didn't speak very loudly, and they didn't make any noise to let others know. However, Wu Yu still heard everything. After all, he had sensitive ears. That Zilong was right, there was indeed a concubine in the Yanhuang Emperor's city. As for whether the emperor believed it or not, Wu Yu didn't know. All he knew was that Luo Bin's face looked a little ugly. "Commander Luo, are you also frightened by this Zilong?" This is the first time I see this Zilong and the Emperor Commander. They are both legendary figures. Not to mention you, I am also very shocked. Wu Yu turned around and saw that she was in a bad mood, so he diverted her attention. Well, it's really scary. After talking to Wu Yu, she soon seemed to have experienced her initial depression, and she was probably thinking about what to do next. She probably didn't expect Zilong to come here. It should be the magical power that really alarmed Zilong just now. At this time, Zilong left. People here in the ancient battlefield were shocked and discussing, and gradually focused on Yan Zhan. Li Kahai glanced at Wu Yu and then entered the ancient battlefield again. That provocative look was the trigger. However, the commander-in-chief has not left yet. Everyone raised their heads, still watching what the commander-in-chief would do next. It was the first time for many people to see him, so they worshipped him, their eyes were shining, and they couldn't take their eyes off him. Suddenly, the commander-in-chief looked down, and the direction he was looking at was the ancient battlefield of Yanzhan. Wu Yu was nervous about Luo Bin at this time. However, he estimated that even if the concubine was discovered, she would have her own way of protection. Boom! Suddenly, that black shadow passed through the magic circle of Yanhuang Emperor City and suddenly appeared in the sky above the ancient battlefield. The Emperor Commander actually came here. Wu Yu took a closer look and saw that he was a tall and burly man, no less built than Li Kahai, like a giant black bear. He was wearing a suit of pitch black armor, pitch black iron boots, and his whole body was black. Just this armor alone, I don't know how much better it is than Wu Yu's Yanhuang Immortal armor. It is definitely a top-notch magic weapon. Maybe it could even be a Taoist weapon. Looking at his face again, it is covered with stubble, and his eyes are dark and piercing. If it were not for the stubble, his face carved with a sword would be quite handsome. Of course, he has this willful stubble. Will be more rough and domineering, possessing a kind of primitive wildness and aggression. It can be said that as soon as the Emperor Commander arrived, everyone, including the Yanhuang Immortal Army and the cultivators from all over the world, fell silent and looked at this legendary figure. Frankly speaking, among the powerful people Wu Yu had ever seen, there were Ba Shi, Tianji Sword Immortal, and Qiang Sword Immortal. Among them, Emperor Shui was ranked first, and his mental oppression was the greatest. Maybe it was due to a lot of fighting, but his eyes and demeanor held a kind of pressure that had experienced many battles. Ruruo, god of war, although not as sharp and elegant as the Sword Immortal, was more domineering and terrifying. The Emperor Commander is the leader of the Yanhuang Immortal Army. For a moment, all the Yanhuang Immortal Army, led by the 5 generals, knelt on one knee and said in unison, "Greetings to the Emperor Commander. Today I will go back to Shenzhen to do some coding." Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 423. Chapter 429. 9 Returns to One Tribulation Technique. He's here. Coming to Yanhuang Emperor City, if you want to make great progress in the future, you must deal with the Yanhuang City Lord and this Emperor Commander in the future. When he met him for the first time today, he felt that the Emperor was quite good. He had a typical temperament of a military commander, happy with his grudges, bold and generous, and informal. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. After arriving, the Emperor Shui waved his hand and said, "Stand still for me, don't think I'm here." Yan Zhan continues, "I'll just take a look." Although he said this, no one could pretend that he was not here. Most of the people around were cultivators from all over the Divine Continent. At this time, they also said hello to the Emperor Commander. At the Shusan Immortal Sect, thousands of Shenzhen Jiao and Scarlet Shadow Sword Master also came to pay their respects. The Emperor Commander knew Shenzhen Jiao and said, "In the blink of an eye, you little kid has become the Sword Master of Shusan. Yes, there will be one more among the 7 Immortals of Shusan in the future. That's a huge compliment." After they all paid homage to each other, General Murong, under the command of the Emperor Commander, immediately followed the procedure and said, "The Battle of Yan will continue. The top 4 spots will be decided between Wu Yu and Li Kahai. The two, I just lost some time, now in front of the Emperor, remember to do your best." It's Wu Yu's turn again. With the Emperor Commander sitting beside him, the tension of the battle was undoubtedly greatly increased. For a moment, not only Wu Yu, but even the ordinary spectators felt suffocated. They looked at Wu Yu for a while, and then looked at the Emperor Commander again. Dry tongue. The ancient battlefield suffered a lot of damage due to the fierce battle. Now the ground is cracked, rivers are flowing backwards, and the forest trees have collapsed one after another, leaving a mess. Li Kahai was in the middle of the ancient battlefield, his eyes like flames staring at Wu Yu, burning with endless flames of war. Although the Emperor's commander is here, Luo Bin has also experienced big scenes. Now she completely conceals herself and says to Wu Yu lightly. She has adjusted. In fact, the Emperor's commander has obviously listened to Zilong. If so, come here to see if you can find anything. Since Luo Bin needs to hide herself, she will undoubtedly have to play a hide-and-seek game with him. Good. Wu Yu had already made preparations. In the midst of Li Kahai's raging fighting spirit, he jumped directly on the preparation platform without a sword and stepped on it. The mountains shook, and a golden figure was like a cannonball, heading towards Li Kahai's body. Impact in the direction. Start, General Murong announced. People were awakened instantly, and their attention completely shifted from the previous Zilong to Wu Yu. It was another moment where everyone was paying attention, but now there was another difference, that is, the Emperor Shui's eyes also noticed him. Naturally, he knew Li Kahai and met Wu Yu for the first time. Therefore, those dark eyes were like two rays of light staring at Wu Yu. At that moment, Wu Yu felt a sure sense of security, as if he was completely undefended. Let the beast, Emperor Shui, study him without any scruples. Boom. As soon as Li Kahai stepped on the ground, many layers of the ground cracked, and the ground rolled like waves. Li Kahai's eyes were like torches, as if two balls of flame were burning onto Wu Yu. Wu Yu, what I said before is still valid. If you can defeat me, I will lose 2,000 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills to you. Saying this is also provocation and contempt. Then are you prepared enough? Wu Yu fell in front of him, flipped his hand, and 100 golden hairs flew out. For a moment, clones that were exactly the same as him appeared one after another. Those hundreds of clones, it shocked people as soon as it appeared. So far, a clone of this level has never appeared in the Divine Continent. If Wu Yu's physical body was not equally powerful, widening the gap between him and the clone, it would actually have caused an even greater shock. Because he almost created 100 more of himself. Li Kahai was directly surrounded by Wu Yu. There is almost no difference between each Wu Yu. 10 of them are actually stronger, but with the naked eye, it is still difficult to tell which ones are slightly stronger. That's enough, let's see if you can take it away. Seeing that he took the first step, Li Kahai was naturally even more rude. The two of them were in this ancient battlefield. From this moment on, the situation was shaken even before they took action. With this Emperor Commander paying attention, this battle cannot be lost. If I lose, when I go to the Shushan Immortal sect, I won't have the indomitable momentum that I imagined. At this moment, he knew that no one could stop him from moving forward. Li Kahai not only has the powerful Zifu Yuan power, but also has a strong physical body, which is simply perfect. At this moment, he sacrificed his super spiritual magic weapon in front of hundreds of Wu Yes. It was a mace, very thick. Each fang on it looked like a canine tooth pulled from the mouth of a real demon. It was sharp and sinister. Each fang was carved with a magic weapon array. It is still somewhat difficult to carve the magic weapon array in such an irregular position. Boom. As soon as the mace came out and the magic circle was in motion, countless beasts were galloping, roaring, and roaring in it. If you look carefully, you can see the shadows of tigers, elephants, lions, cheetahs, poisonous snakes, and other beasts struggling inside the mace. To be honest, the power of the super spiritual weapon is definitely more than what Wu Yu holds. Of Yanhuang Optimus Prime. This mace is called Beast Tooth. Buzz. Li Ka waved the teeth of hundreds of beasts, as if he were the king of beasts. If there are countless demons crawling under your feet, accept his orders. At this time, what Li Ka saw was that 101 Wu Yes were undergoing the immortal ape transformation. In the blink of an eye, what appeared around Li Ka were more than 100 strong, upright, golden apes with bodies more like human shapes, but with golden hair. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. The giant ape transforms into a god. At this time, Li Ka sneered, and he was also undergoing a change. However, this was different from Wu Yu. His should be a kind of magical power. This magical power, when magical, made Li Ka look like Wu Yu. Similar to Wu Yu, his body was also growing rapidly. His bones were elongating and making crackling sounds. The amplitude of his changes was much greater than that of Wu Yu. In the blink of an eye, Li Ka, who was surrounded by Wu Yu, turned into a head. The giant ape is also golden all over. Even its hair is burning with golden flames. Its arms are thick and long, more like a gorilla. Compared with Wu Yu's immortal ape transformation, which is still in human form, Li Ka's transformation is much more complete. It's almost like a demon changing its body. The mace also tripled in size and was held in his hand. Roar! Li Ka looked up to the sky and roared, and the whole world was shaken. Its explosive momentum is no less than that of Wu Yu's 100 clones. Boom boom boom. In its roar, mountains and rivers were shattered, rivers exploded, and water rose into the sky. Then it was swept away by flames and turned into steam all over the sky. However, Li Ka, who seemed to be more popular, did not receive as much attention from the Emperor Commander as Wu Yu. The Emperor Commander was completely staring at Wu Yu at this time, reaching out to play with his beard and pondering, looking very interested. After all, the extrajudicial clone and the immortal ape transformation are both thaumaturgy. In fact, in all the previous battles, Li Ka did not use this giant ape transformation. It was obviously his ultimate skill, and he only used it at this moment to deal with Wu Yu. Therefore, no one knows how powerful the principle of power is. At this time, Li Ka glared at Wu Yu and roared angrily, "You and I have the same way. My way is simple and direct, respecting strength. In this case, I will decide the outcome with one move." After Li Ka roared, he raised the fang of 100 beasts. The fang of 100 beasts was raised high and pointed towards the sky. 99 returns to one tribulation technique. It was obvious that he was using a superb mystical art of heaven and earth. He had used this move before. Wu Yu had also heard of his mystical art of heaven and earth. To put it simply, it was a method of torturing oneself in exchange for the super-destructive method is actually a forbidden Taoist technique. However, it is not without reason that Li Ka is called this name. It is said that all the Taoist techniques he practices are forbidden Taoist techniques. He takes suffering as the way to practice. The 99 returns to one tribulation technique uses 9 kinds of Taoist techniques to destroy the physical body and fully stimulate the potential of the physical body in a painful way. After success, the combat power that Li Ka can explode will be quite terrifying, especially the physical combat power. As soon as this started, you could see a bolt of lightning and thunder in the sky, as thick as his waist, directly hitting the top of his head, and the raging thunder suddenly drowned him. This was just the beginning. What followed was black wind, sharp ice spikes, scorching flames, etc. A total of 9 disasters struck him. Li Ka screamed in pain. It was obvious that he was suffering from this kind of torture. It's very uncomfortable, like suffering from the catastrophe of the gods. But in fact, under the forging of this disaster, the threat he brought to Wu Yu during this disaster has indeed increased dramatically. Even if Wu Yu has hundreds of them, he is still being crushed by the opponent in terms of momentum at this time. However, his eyes were as calm as water and he said, "You are wrong. My way is completely different from yours." At least, for Wu Yu, practicing Taoism is not a bitter word. Li Kehai forced himself into extremely painful situations to increase his fighting power. It is undeniable that he has a strong will and a strong spirit, but this is different from Wu Yu. The ways are not the same. For Wu Yu, practicing Taoism is not painful, and he sometimes enjoys it. He had to stop Li Kehai, otherwise he really didn't know how much he could increase his attack power through self-mutilation. At this moment, hundreds of Wu Ye suddenly took action at the same time. The art of trapping the dragon and trapping the sky. For a moment, a black whirlpool swept across the sky. Countless black dragons that looked a bit like candle dragons rushed out and entangled themselves with Li Kehai. However, at this time, Li Kehai was suffering from disaster and was also the craziest time. The power of various disasters is not only forging him, but also protecting him. The black dragons that are close to him are also falling apart. The magic of trapping the dragon and trapping the sky really cannot trap him. However, Wu Yu was not surprised. At this moment, each of the clones was holding a sword in their hands, and two of the clones were holding the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword. There is also Wu Yu, holding Yanhuang Optimus Prime in his hand. In this case, who is true and who is false? Arrive home in the afternoon. I wrote one chapter first. Keep writing. I will update it as I write it at night. It may be updated at any time. I will write it until I go to bed. There are about 3-4 chapters in total today. Starting tomorrow, it will all be updated at high speed. Thank you everyone for supporting the genuine version. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 424. Isn't this my Yanhuang Optimus Prime? When he saw this scene, the Emperor was surprised. He forged this magic weapon and named it by him, so he naturally knew where he got it from. Is this the genius from Xuanhuan? The one who is said to be a little willful? What's his name? The Emperor stared at the changes on the battlefield and asked casually. Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow dot. It's him. His name is Wu Yu. His body is stronger than the bitter sea. Although his realm is not high, his combat power is amazing and unprecedented. Oh, it's really good to be able to rush here. Interesting. He. The Emperor narrowed his eyes, not knowing what he was thinking. At this moment, Wu Yu attacked Li Kehai with the dragon prisoner technique. The two sides fought fiercely. Millions of people watching could not help but exclaim and shout, and the scene suddenly became extremely hot. In fact, Li Kehai just wanted to decide the winner at once, so this moment was almost the most critical moment for Wu Yu. Who is the real Wu Yu? Among them, the three holding the Emperor Hong sword, the Emperor Kui sword and the Yanhuang Optimus Prime are naturally the most special, but this does not rule out the possibility that the real Wu Yu is hiding somewhere else. In an instant, it was a matter of life and death. In a flash, all the sword-holding Wu Yes, a total of 100 people, from the four surrounding Li Kehai, who was manipulating the 9-9 return to one tribulation technique, they swung their magic swords almost at the same time. Mysterious Immortal Shocking Sword Technique. Although this heaven and earth mysterious technique is not expensive, it can also cause extraordinary lethality when it is mastered to perfection, especially the 100 Shocking Sword Chi, which suddenly shot out. There are also two of them, which are mixed with Emperor Kuei's sword qi and Emperor Hong's sword qi. Li Kehai wants to decide the outcome with one move, but Wu Yu is not a fool. Naturally, he has to use all his abilities, otherwise he will definitely lose. For a while, the sword qi soared into the sky. At this time, Wu Yu showed his skills as a disciple of Xuanhuan. His talent in swordsmanship was not ambiguous at all, and the sky was full of sword shadows. The sword energy flew into the sky and hid in the ground. The key was that this Xianxian Jinghuan sword technique was unstoppable by the power of the calamity. Although the lethality was average, it could rush in directly, which definitely disturbed Li Kehai's rhythm a little. Especially the two sword energies mixed with the Dikuei sword energy and the Dihong sword energy, which directly pierced Li Kehai. Li Kehai had to scream, and he didn't know whether the calamity technique was successful. All the power was suddenly retracted into his mace. At this time, Li Kehai was like a god of war from a myth. He stared at the three Wu Yes, namely Yanhuang Qingtianzu, Dihong Jian, and Dikuojian, roared, and stepped on countless turtles. The ground cracked, and an ancient roar was heard. A giant ape rushed forward, as if all its strength was concentrated in the teeth of the beast. Buzz! Three Wu Yes rushed forward side by side. The two on the left and right retreated to the back, and the one in the middle raised the Yanhuang Optimus Prime and exploded rapidly. In fact, this was the real Wu Yu. In the midst of barely interrupting the opponent's heaven and earth mystic art, he directly used the violent art. For a moment, the strength of his body continued to increase and exploded. The strength of the whole person suddenly increased by 2 times. Wu Yu knew clearly that even if Li Kehai was tortured by the 9-9 return to 1 tribulation art, his physical strength at this time was definitely not increased by 2 times. Huangdi opening the earth formation. A stick shot up into the sky, violently smashed down, and for a moment the wind and clouds retreated, and the mountains and rivers collapsed. Behind him, the other two held swords and performed, and 2 more Xianxian Jinghuan sword qi stabbed towards Li Kehai's eyes. Li Kehai was extremely violent, and he also used all his strength to exert his peak and extreme, and launched the most intense head-on confrontation with Wu Yu. Just before the golden and shining Yanhuang Optimus Prime and the 100 Beasts Fang collided, the Xianxian Jinghuan swordsmanship arrived first broke through Li Kehai's defense, and stabbed his soul again. It must be said that Li Kehai's soul is as strong and tough as his body. It is impossible to defeat him with this kind of sword energy, but it can indeed affect his mental will, making him confused when he is stabbed, and his hand movements and strength will be confused. Especially at this time, the remaining clones next to him were not idle, and they rushed up one by one and directly performed the dragon prisoner and heavenly trap technique. No matter when Wu Yu was, it was like 100 people fighting one person. For every move Li Kehai made, they made 100 moves, and they were all under Wu Yu's control, so of course the cooperation was very good. For a while, countless black dragons were entangled, rushing, and constantly weakening Li Kehai, making him seem to fall into the swamp of black dragons, and at this time he had been hit by the Xianxian Jinghuan sword technique. At this moment, Wu Yu's stick smashed down and collided with Li Kehai's mace with a bang. This is a head-on confrontation. Under the violent technique and the assistance of various clones, Wu Yu fought hard. The power of the stick was unprecedented, as if countless mountains fell down and pressed on Li Kehai's head. Li Kehai roared violently, but under Wu Yu's rough attack, the 100 Beasts' fangs fell out of his hand, and his arm was directly broken. The big explosion formation took effect and directly blew his arm to pieces. Boom! Li Kehai screamed and retreated repeatedly. Wu Yu quickly chased after him, and before anyone could react, he hit him on the head with a stick, and then like crazy, the Yanhuang Optimus Prime fell with the stick, making a loud crackling sound, until his Yanhuang immortal armor it exploded directly, and Li Kehai was covered in blood. Even though his body was strong, his muscles, bones and internal organs were shattered by Wu Yu's Yanhuang Optimus Prime. Although he could recover, when he fell to the ground softly, he definitely lost the ability to fight again. Finish. Wu Yu was also quite tired. He put away his clone, supported himself with Yanhuang Optimus Prime, and looked at the fallen Li Ka silently. To be honest, the opponent was very strong. Not only was he physically strong, but the Zifu Yuanli was also strong. He even had a stronger will and could endure hardships. But he still lost. Even if Wu Yu used violent techniques, his absolute strength might not be stronger than him. Really, the reason for the victory was Wu Yu's success in stopping his 9-9 returns to 1 tribulation technique, and it was also due to the simultaneous killing of 100 clones. In particular, the last technique of prisoning the dragon and trapping the sky, and the Xianxian shocking sword technique using the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword played a huge role, directly pulling and reducing the opponent's strength. The wonderful use of extra-legal clones is reflected here. Now, the battle was over. Li Ka fell in a pool of blood and had returned to his human form. No matter how hard he endured, he kept crying out. Especially when he opened his eyes, he saw Wu Yu standing in front of him with a look on his face. Staring at him silently, Li Ka spat out another mouthful of blood. Obviously, it was really difficult for him to accept this fact. Wu Yu was unscathed, but he was defeated. Defeated. For the proud man, it was so uncomfortable and such a huge blow to be defeated at what he was best at. Li Ka has experienced many failures in his life, but this time, it was more uncomfortable than he imagined. Even when he felt the stunned eyes of millions of people, he understood even more that after this defeat, he became Wu Yu's upward attack. Stepping stone. Of course, he has also stepped on countless stepping stones, and today it is his turn to be suppressed by others. It actually feels like karma. Wu Yu raised his head and glanced at General Murong. In fact, General Murong was also confused at this time. He admired in his heart and looked at Wu Yu. Even when his heart was turned upside down, he still announced, "Congratulations to Wu Yu, for defeating Li Ka and entering Yan Zhan's top 4. Once he said it, it was a done deal. Li Ka closed his eyes in pain. Gritting his teeth tightly. He was unwilling to give in. Wu Yu, you are such a coward. You use so many auxiliary means and you don't have the guts to confront me directly. You are not worthy of being my opponent. You are not worthy of having the same Tao as me." Li Ka gritted his teeth and said ferociously. Wu Yu smiled faintly. After the battle, he felt very relaxed. He stared at Li Ka and said, "You are wrong. You and I are different. Although I regard strength as my first priority, I don't think other methods are inferior. The greatest truth is simplicity. It is foolish to do as you please and give up other things in pursuit of power. This is the difference." Li Ka was stunned. He was actually influenced by Wu Yu. This was very dangerous. This battle not only defeated his body, but also shook his heart at the moment. Don't say too much. It's okay to kill people, but don't kill your heart. His way needs to be figured out by himself at this moment. General Jinluan appeared in front of Wu Yu. He took control of Li Ka and looked at him coldly. Wu Yu. After saying that, he probably wanted to take Li Ka down for treatment. "Kang Hai Yuan Kai pill, don't forget it," Wu Yu said with a smile before he left. "Give it to him," General Jinluan said. Li Ka also felt that there was no point in staying here anymore. Maybe his monastic career needed a change, and he could still do it if he was willing to admit defeat, so he dropped a sumuru bag and landed at Wu Yu's feet. 2,000 Kang Hai Yuan Kai pills are quite a lot. Moreover, this was won by Wu Yu himself and was the result of his battle. Of course he could be fair and above board. When he picked up the sumuru bag and put it away, the millions of ascetics still looked at him in astonishment. Today Luo Ben brought the first shock, and Wu Yu brought the second. Among the top 4 in the Yan War were Luo Bin and Wu Yu. The most confused person here is Xuanhuan. At this time, he was surrounded by a group of captains. Everyone was congratulating him for the appearance of 2 such figures under his seat. They envied him, but Xuanhuan still didn't understand. Wu Yu just let it go. Why does Luo Bin seem to be a different person these days? As for the Shushan immortal sect, Chen Fuyu and the others were almost crying. They were slapped in the face again and again. Although they were not really slapped, their faces really hurt. Even the Red Shadow Sword Master's face was red and extremely embarrassed. This person with extraordinary performance was expelled from Shushan. After Wu Yu won, many people looked at them with strange eyes, especially Shang Yu and Daozong, who almost laughed. Wu Yu suddenly, the Emperor Shui called him. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 425. Wu Yu was shocked. This Emperor Commander, in this divine continent, would definitely be ranked in the top 5, but there would be no problem in the top 10. Anyway, he is more awe-inspiring than the Tianji Sword Immortal who ranks 3rd in Shushan. When he called his name, he naturally paid attention to himself. What would he do in front of millions of ascetics? Meet the Emperor. The Emperor Commander, named Di Yi, is the Supreme Marshal of the Yanhuang Immortal Army. Wu Yu is only a centurion, and this Emperor Yi is his most senior commander. He has been in the army all year round and respects the Supreme Commander. He also served as the Supreme Commander-in-Chief. Suddenly, everyone was focused on it again. What does the Emperor want to do with Wu Yu? I don't know. Whether Wu Yu can really gain a foothold in Yanhuang Emperor City depends on this time. After all, he is a foreigner and not really cultivated by Yanhuang Emperor City. I estimate that it is indeed difficult for him to be truly cultivated. Yes, and Wu Yu, the immortal gate of Shushan, regards him as a traitor. Emperor Yanhuang City should take care of Shushan's face a little and not embarrass the immortal gate of Shushan. Indeed, the more powerful Wu Yu is, the greater the Shushan immortal sect will be embarrassed. At this time, the rugged Emperor Commander coughed. Under this natural power, people immediately stopped talking and focused their attention on Wu Yu and Emperor Commander, waiting with bated breath. Wu Yu also wanted to know what the Emperor's commander thought of him. At this time, he looked at the pair of pitch-black eyes. There was an ancient domineering look in his eyes, ancient and solemn. His voice was thick and his words were like thunder, and he said, I heard that you and that the common disciples of the 7 Immortals of Shu Mountain have agreed on a time. You want to return to Qingtian Shu Mountain and fight to the death with them. Wu Yu didn't expect that he would ask this question. Wu Yu did not hesitate and answered openly and honestly, returning to the Emperor's commander is not a matter of life and death, but a complete end to the relationship. This is the most significant meaning to him. He was expelled from Shushan at the beginning, so many things were unclear. Now, as an abandoned disciple of Shushan, he is spurned by many people, so whether by Shen Mo or not provocation, he knew that one day, he must go back. And that slap from Qiang Sword Immortal is still unforgettable. After Wu Yu said that, the Emperor Shui nodded, smiled slightly, and said, very good, then I will make you a promise. If you are qualified to enter the city lord's mansion, I will accompany you to Shushan to help you. This is a bombshell. After saying one sentence, the entire ancient battlefield seemed to explode. Everyone was shocked and seemed to be unable to believe their ears. I'll go with you and help you out. The Emperor's words were simple, direct, and very clear. Although there is a condition that requires Wu Yu to truly obtain the top 3 spots, the meaning is different. If Wu Yu returns alone, then he will be returning to that world as an abandoned disciple of Shushan to face those familiar people. Basically, he will lose. And if there is an Emperor Commander accompanying him, then his identity is the genius of Yanhuang Emperor City. It means that he has integrated into the Yanhuang Emperor City, can represent the Yanhuang Emperor city, and is even valued by the Emperor Commander. It obviously proves that his status in Yanhuang Emperor city has skyrocketed from being an abandoned disciple to being recognized by the Emperor's commander. This Emperor Commander is one of the two strongest people in the Yanhuang Emperor city and has a huge say. Isn't it easy to protect Wu Yu? For a moment, the way everyone looked at Wu Yu changed even more. Especially for Xuanhuan Immortal sect, Shen Xinjiao was okay. He shook his head and smiled helplessly. He was also happy for Wu Yu, but in fact he was also a little regretful. In fact, he still hoped that Wu Yu could return to Xuanhuan one day and become a Xuanhuan person again. He and Tianji Sword Immortal were actually welcome, and what the Emperor Shui said basically meant that Wu Yu would never return to Xuanhuan again. As for the Scarlet Shadow Sword Master and the others, their faces were livid. They watched helplessly as Wu Yu soared into the sky in the Yanhuang Emperor's city. They couldn't stop him. Especially the promise made by the Emperor Commander is really terrible. With the support of the Emperor Commander, Wu Yu's status will be transformed when he returns to Xuanhuan in the future. Baishan Mo of Xuanhuan Immortal sect may not be able to deal with Wu Yu in one go. From being alone, to having the support of the entire Yanhuang Emperor city. Okay, the Yanhuang Immortal army still liked Wu Yu quite a lot, so when the Emperor Commander made this promise, everyone became excited and applauded Wu Yu. Thank you, Commander-in-Chief, Wu Yu will definitely do it. How could Wu Yu not be aware of this change? At this moment, I feel nothing but gratitude. Maybe the Emperor's commander won't be able to help much then, but as long as he goes, Wu Yu will no longer be an abandoned disciple, he will have a new identity. Next, you just need to be in the top 3. Although, even if there are only 4 people, it is still difficult to be in the top 3. Luo Bin has basically locked in a spot, and he wants to decide a spot in the fight with Qin Fuyu and Murong Su. Then I'll wait and see. From now on, I don't want to hear anyone call you an abandoned disciple again. You, Wu Yu, are a member of our Yanhuang Emperor city. Everyone, do you understand? The last part of the sentence was what the Emperor Commander said to the millions of people around him. People suddenly realized that Wu Yu was no longer someone they could discuss casually. This was the Yanhuang Emperor city. When Wu Yu was valued by the Emperor Commander, the Emperor Commander wanted people not to remember Wu Yu's identity as an abandoned disciple of Shu Mountain. These millions of people dare not even mention it. For Wu Yu, this was actually an earth-shaking change. Okay. I just saw this today. When the top 3 are decided, let me know again. Murong the Emperor smiled and laughed, and finally said something to General Murong, and then disappeared in an instant, turning into a black shadow. In the blink of an eye, he was released to the inner city. It is said that the Emperor's commander is presiding over the Imperial War in the inner city. The Imperial War is, of course, more intense. He couldn't leave there either. Although the Emperor Commander has left, from now on, people look at Wu Yu completely differently. I'm sorry, I have something to do. I'll leave first. The Scarlet Shadow Sword Master suddenly stood up and said to General Murong and others. Many young people followed him, with livid faces and ready to leave. To them, the Emperor Shui was too disrespectful to the Xuanhuan Immortal sect. Here in Yanhuang Emperor City, several generals gathered together. General Qin said, "No, don't leave now. Don't you want to know who among these 4 can make it into the top 3? Chen Fui gritted his teeth and leaned into the ear of Scarlet Shadow Sword Master and said, "Dad, you can't leave. Leaving now shows that we are cowards." "I don't believe it. The one named Luo Bin is terrifyingly strong. Qin Fuihe and Murong Su are both terrible. At least based on his current performance, Wu Yu is the weakest. I don't believe he can make it into the top 3. I don't believe the Emperor is willing to accompany him to Xuanhuan to offend us. If you don't leave, I won't believe it either." Xiao Huanshan and others expressed their opinions one after another. At this point, Scarlet Shadow Sword Master said, "Okay, let's not do anything urgent now. Then return to your place." Shenzhen had no intention of leaving at all. He felt a little embarrassed to be with them. Now Wu Yu has suddenly become the new favorite of the Yanhuang Emperor city. With the words of the Emperor Commander, his status will not be much worse than that of Li Kahai and others. It is even very likely that he will go one step further and be accepted as a disciple by the Emperor Commander. There is a certain degree of success possible. Therefore, they no longer dare to talk about him. With 4 people left, 4 battles and 1 elimination, it's fair enough. General Murong and others summoned Wu Yu and 4 other people to come before them. On both sides of Wu Yu, Luo Pin is on the left and Qin Fugui is on the right. One is a mysterious dragon, and the other is an enchanting beauty, one is cold and the other is hot. Qin Fugui glanced at Wu Yu with her charming eyes, her red lips parted slightly, and said, "Wu Yu, congratulations to you. The Emperor's commander will not be so enthusiastic about ordinary people. You have to try your best to get into the top 3. Qin Fugui didn't seem very happy. After all, she was determined to win the qualification for the City Lord's Palace. She probably felt some pressure at this time. After all, her next opponent was the most terrifying dark horse Luo Bin. Luo Bin defeated Zhang Zhigzun. Once, it completely shocked the whole audience and even frightened Qin Fugui. Sure enough, when Qin Fugui turned her eyes to Luo Bin, maybe it was because there was no room for 2 tigers among women. She smiled coldly and said, "Commander Luo is hiding very deep. Before the Yan War, no one knew that you had such means. I just don't know what the special purpose is for hiding it until today." Her coquettish voice and strange introduction pointed the finger directly at Luo Bin. However, Luo Bin said in a calm tone, "There have been some major breakthroughs recently. You have misunderstood. I don't believe it. Later, I have to check the identity of Commander Luo. I always feel that something is wrong." "Zhang Xuanhuan didn't explain clearly where you came from," Qin Fugui said again. Wu Yu was embarrassed to be sandwiched between these 2 women. However, Luo Bai did not argue with Qin Fugui at all. No matter what Qin Fugui said next, she acted as if she had not heard her and did not respond at all. During the fight between the 2 women, Wu Yu couldn't help but feel a little fond of Luo Bai. She was too calm and in a good mood. Looking at Qin Fugui, she was actually younger and a little unruly and willful at heart. She usually loved to tease others. Swaggering through the market, of course it is undeniable that she does have these capitals, and she is pretty good to Wu Yu. Such a beautiful girl, no one hates her. 2 days later, the 4 of you will be ready. It's not easy to kill until now. If you lose 2 games in a row, you will lose your spot. They will use their strongest fighting power. Let the world see, our Yanhuang Emperor City's strongest 100 commander. What's the point? General Murong said with a smile. Yes, everyone nodded. Then, General Murong looked at Luo Bin and Qin Fugui again. "You 2 are going to fight first, but you have to be careful about your opponents. Now, it seems that none of the 4 of you are willing to go out. As you can imagine, the last moment was absolutely wonderful. There are 3 chapters in total today. I haven't slept well these past few days and I can't continue writing. More updates tomorrow. More updates tomorrow. More updates tomorrow." Say important things 3 times. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 426. Due to the schedule, Luo Bai and Qin Fugui were in conflict with each other. Luo Bai directly determines whether Qin Fugui can enter the top 3. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Qin Fugui seems to be light-hearted, but in fact, judging from this moment, she attaches great importance to the top 3 spots. The 4 people present were all eager to enter the City Lord's mansion. This is probably the reason why Qin Fui is obviously hostile to Luo Bin. The last time she went to Yongzi City, she was quite polite to Luo Bin. Of course, it was not just Qin Fui and Luo Bin who had obvious hostility before. For Murongsu, the top four should have been their four geniuses, but now Zhang Zhigzun and Li Kehai are out. Both of them have a good relationship with him. Wu Yu fought all the way and intercepted him. This time he not only eliminated his friends, but also directly decided whether he could enter the city lord's palace. However, Murongsu obviously had a good rest, so his face was calm, and he even had a smile on his face when facing Wu Yu. But the hostility deep in his eyes cannot be concealed. Of course, for Wu Yu, Murongsu is also the enemy who is blocking his way into the top three. The reason for entering the top three was to have a better environment to catch up with Baishan Mo and the others' great progress in Shushan Samsara Cave. Now, Emperor Shui has made a promise. Even for this promise, Wu Yu needs to do his best. He didn't want to go back to Shushan when the time came, and he had to go back as an abandoned disciple, and he didn't want to be looked down upon by thousands of Shushan disciples. He wanted to understand everything clearly, otherwise what happened that day would always be his inner demon. If the emperor and commander are accompanying them, it will be a collision between two huge forces. How can the Shushan sword cultivators look at themselves in a superior manner? What's more, hundreds of thousands of people, overwhelming, say the word "get out" to yourself. The meaning of the first three battles has changed for him. He had to get this spot, no matter what the cost. Now Wu Yu's heart can be described as burning with heat. The war will start the day after tomorrow, and there will be a short period of time and opportunity to recuperate. On the preparation stage, Wu Yu is with Luo Bin, and Murongsu is with Qin Fugui. The smell of gunpowder between the two sides was so strong. Is it possible that just one look at each other can make the hearts of millions of people watching tighten? The Yan War has immediately entered the final moment, and there are only a few battles left to watch. For example, Shushan Xianmen and others, except Shenzhen Jiao, probably stayed here just to see how Wu Yu would be kicked out of the top three. First of all, Murongsu has Taoist weapons and his own extraordinary strength. He easily reached the top four all the way. It is impossible for Wu Yu to pass him. He is just a little luckier than Li Kehai, but not much stronger than Li Kehai. Secondly, between Luo Bin and Qin Fui, maybe Qin Fui will lose, but Qin Fui has the divine wind Taoist inheritance and has hidden many tricks. Murongsu may not be her opponent, let alone Wu Yu. Last time, Wu Yu narrowly defeated Li Kehai, which was definitely the limit. It's not that easy to get the Emperor Commander to accompany him back to Shushan. Many comments were made. Wu Yu and Luo Bin looked like a golden boy and a beautiful girl. They sat cross-legged together, both of them closing their eyes to meditate. Wu Yu was even more familiar with the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword. Since the start of the war, he has not yet shown this ability. 2 million level magic weapons. Both of them are wearing Xuanhuan immortal armor, so they look like a perfect match. You're a good boy. Although you say you don't want to have an affair with this little female dragon and cause some sparks, your body is quite honest. Unknowingly, you have become her only friend. Congratulations, riding a dragon the day of heaven is not far away, Ming Tong said with a smirk. She rambled on, but Wu Yu ignored her. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, people held their breaths and opened their eyes wide. There were millions of people, and it was so densely packed when you looked at them. They were all top cultivators, coming from the land of God, and many of them were giants. They were all staring at Wu Yu and others. Because of Wu Yu's appearance, the pattern of the four geniuses in Yanhuang Emperor City was completely broken. No matter how you say it, Wu Yu must be added to make it the 5 geniuses. This Yanzhen made Wu Yu and Luo Bin suddenly emerge as a new force, instantly becoming the focus of the Yanhuang Emperor City and even the Divine Continent. Time's up. General Murong coughed and said, Qin Fugui and Luo Bin, let's go to battle. As soon as these words came out, it immediately boiled over and everyone's hearts were in their throats. The hearts of millions of people are surging. At this moment, two beautiful figures flew towards the ancient battlefield. Qin Fui's black and red dress swayed away, inadvertently revealing the snow-white round thighs and delicate skin, which was a feast for the eyes. Such a beauty is rare in the imperial city. Young people even named Qin Fuyu as the most beautiful woman in the Yanhuang Emperor city. Wherever it went, strong winds surged. On the other hand, Luo Bin is much more low-key. She is wrapped in Yanhuang immortal armor. She only has a pair of azure eyes and long silver white hair, which is extremely moving when flying. One cold and one hot, the two women faced each other on the ancient battlefield. Qin Fuyu turned her hands over, and the fiery red folding fan appeared in her hands. As she waved, a whirlwind flew. When she arrived here, Qin Fuyu's eyes were cold, and she was unwilling to say anything. She took action directly and rushed towards Luo Bin quickly. This move set off a fierce storm on the ancient battlefield. Buzz! The battle suddenly broke out. Boom boom boom. After a battle of flames, the ancient battlefield was ravaged and riddled with holes. Qin Fuhui danced wildly in the wind, with a beautiful figure, waist, chest, abdomen, and long legs, all of which attracted people's attention. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Wherever the folding fan magic weapon went, a storm swept, even forcing millions of cultivators away. However, what was even more thrilling was that the battle came to an abrupt end. That was because Luo Bin's eyes changed, and suddenly, Qin Fuhui was frozen in the ice sculpture in the most beautiful posture, with a moving figure, a protruding front and a curved back, and a moving look. This happened in an instant. The whole process was exactly the same as when Luo Bin defeated Zhang Zhigzun. Although Qin Fuhui had a moving figure and was frozen in the ice sculpture, she was even more beautiful and a peerless beauty, but after all, this meant that she was defeated. General Murong looked even colder. This battle seemed to be over before it even started. At this time, Qin Fuhui, who was in the ice sculpture, did not seem to break the ice sculpture at all. When everyone was holding their breath in silence, Lupin said to General Murong, if the winner is not announced, I can smash this beauty and the ice sculpture together. Then, the scene may not be very good. She said this in a very calm tone, but it made many people shudder. Even Wu Yu was frightened and sighed that he was lucky that he did not become Lupin's opponent. After all, she is a fairy beast and has been practicing Taoism for a long time. If she had not encountered an accident, she would have been a person like the Lord of Yanhuang City. Lupin is usually calm, but at this time, she said something domineering. General Qin next to him was shocked and said quickly, you won, don't mess with me, if you kill someone, you can't enter the top 3. Murong, forget it. She hides too deeply, and I am not her opponent. So, even though everyone was shocked, General Murong pondered for a while and announced, congratulations to Lupin, you won. Enter the top 3, and in the next battle, you only need to take the first or second place. This also means that Qin Fuhui needs to enter the third or fourth place competition to compete for the last spot. Yeah, Lupin won the victory easily, and she nodded. The winner has been decided. At this moment, people smiled bitterly and looked at each other. What else can they say? This time, the originally inconspicuous Lupin became the biggest winner of the Yan battle. After this battle, she really became famous all over the world. Of course, this is also somewhat accidental. Lupin is now showing the 4th level of the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, while Qin Fuhui and the others are only at the 3rd level. If they reach the 4th level, the outcome may not be certain. It can only be said that Lupin is temporarily the strongest in the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm, but this does not mean that she is a genius at the level of Qin Fuwei. So people have never classified her as a genius. In any case, this battle is over. Lupin easily won a place. At this time, she released her control over Qin Fuwei, the ice sculpture melted, Qin Fuwei was wet all over, and her beautiful body was even more tempting, but the moisture disappeared in an instant. Under the freezing of the ice sculpture, Qin Fuwei calmed down a lot. Now she is actually unscathed, but she is not a spoiled person. After being crushed by Lupin, she was unwilling to accept it, and she also realized the failure. Forget it, it's my bad luck to meet you. Qin Fuwei took a deep breath and said nothing more, but returned to the preparation platform. Although she lost, at least she was not injured, and she was not exhausted at all. Luo Bin just trapped her. This is a great advantage for her in the next battle, and it is a little uncertain whether Wu Yu and Murongsu can maintain their undefeated state after the defeat. After the victory, Luo Bin was also very calm. She returned to Wu Yu and whispered, "Try hard, it's best to enter the city lord's mansion in this battle." She actually had some confidence in Wu Yu. Next, it was Wu Yu's turn. On the opposite side, Murongsu had already arrived at the ancient battlefield and was ready to wait for Wu Yu. People were full of expectations for this battle. After all, Luo Bin and Qin Fuwei, the battle ended as soon as it started, and there was no suspense. But in this battle, the two must fight hard for the top three. Especially Wu Yu, everyone needs it, he has to fight for that promise. Otherwise, if he loses to Murongsu, he will have to fight Qin Fuiying again. Who knows what the outcome will be? It's best to solve it all at once. Wu Yu has been preparing for this moment for a long time. He prepared for this battle as the last one, so he is ready to die at this moment. He came to the ancient battlefield. He only needs the top three. Therefore, facing Murongsu, who is known as the strongest among the four geniuses and has a Taoist weapon, he calmed down and concentrated his mind, and his eyes became more and more scorching. Continue to update at 1800 hours in the afternoon. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 427. Yanhuang Emperor City. Once it rose, the wind and clouds rolled, carrying the inner demon, rising across the sky. This is the portrayal of Wu Yu's heart at this moment. Surrounding him, millions of people are paying attention, and even the entire Shenzhou is paying attention to him. Shushan Xianmen, Shangyuan Dao Sect, Tianyi Clan, Wushan Tianmen, Gasu Fairy Peak. The overlords of all parties, the world's wealthy families. There are many more people around him, Luo Bin, Qin Fuwei, Jiangsu Echuan, Emperor Marshal, many generals, and Murongsu in front of him, as well as Li Kehai and Zhang Zhigzhan. At this moment, Yan Zhan made Wu Yu reach the pinnacle of this genius. Murongsu should be similar to Baishan Mo at least, he also has inheritance and Taoist weapons. The ancient Shenting Genren is not weaker than Shushan Qingming Sword Emperor. Now it can be said that it is a battle of geniuses. For a time, the wind and clouds rolled, the wind whistled, and above the endless sky, lead clouds gathered, brewing heavy rain, and there were electric snakes rolling, running around, making sharp whistling sounds. All of these were controlled by Murongsu. In the strong wind, Murongsu's black hair was flying. He was wearing Yanhuang Xianjia. His body shape was similar to Wu Yu. His temperament was elegant and gentle. In fact, from the tiny electric snakes in his long hair, it can be seen that he was really terrible. Of course, now Wu Yu stood on the vast land, with fire surging in his body. The ghost-eating volcano hidden in his body now erupted, making his body seem to be made of lava. His eyes were shining with golden light, spewing out infinite divine fire, and Murong-Su was evenly matched. Wu Yu, I didn't expect that my opponent in the most crucial battle would be you. You are lucky. After all, for so many years, I have really used the mixed thunder sword to deal with few people. Murong-Su smiled slightly, and there were electric snakes entangled in his eyes. As soon as these words came out, the heroes were noisy and the scene was boiling. Almost the vast majority of people present had never seen the power of the Taoist weapon. Of course, Wu Yu was the same. Hunli Daejian. Hunli Daejian. People were eager, so they shouted and roared. For me, this is not lucky, it's nothing more than an extra experience, it's nothing. Wu Yu was very calm, and only the flames of war were rolling in his chest. Really arrogant, but arrogance requires ability as capital, otherwise it will make people laugh. Murong-Su shook his head and laughed. Whether you have the capital or not, wait until you fall at my feet, won't you know? Wu Yu laughed dumbly. This conversation full of gunpowder completely stirred up the atmosphere. They couldn't help but worry about Wu Yu. It was really shameless to say such big words. If he lost, he would lose face. Haha. Murong-Su said no more. However, both of them were moving at this moment, and it could be said that they were on the verge of breaking out. First of all, it started from Murong-Su's side. He directly used the Great Dao magic. Wu Yu had seen this Great Dao magic before, and Wu Yu had seen it in the battle before him. It was called, 9 Mysterious Thunder God Change. This change was from the inside out, and combined with the thunder in the sky. For a moment, 9 consecutive thunders fell from the sky and struck Murong-Su, forming a 9-layer thunder network on his body, and the 9-layer thunder was completely integrated into his body. In an instant, Murong-Su underwent a huge change. He changed from a gentle and elegant general to a human figure entangled by thunder and lightning. Even the thunder was connected to the heaven and earth. Murong-Su's body, like a spider web, extended out and connected to all things in the world. The lightning network rolled in the 4 seas, exploding black fragments all over the sky. This 9 mysterious thunder god change not only increased his attack power, but also had the effect of defense. At this moment, Murong-Su was like the son of thunder. When he waved his hand, the thunder in the sky was under his control, and countless electric snakes were involved in his hand. He had used this great magical power before, but this time the scene was even more exciting. However, the most shocking thing was his next move. At this moment, he took out a black longsword from the sumuru bag in front of Wu Yu. As soon as the longsword came out, it immediately covered the brilliance of all the magic weapons around. Judging from the throbbing pressure, this is definitely a Taoist weapon. As soon as the Taoist weapon came out, the magic weapons all wailed. Taoist weapons and magic weapons, like mortals and cultivators, are a kind of level transformation. This transformation is even greater than the transformation from spiritual magic weapons to super spiritual magic weapons. That is the Chaos Thunder Sword. When the Chaos Thunder Sword first appeared, it looked ordinary, but immediately, black lightning was born on it. The black lightning was cold, and soul-stirring. As soon as it appeared, it also made the lightning in the world retreat. In a blink of an eye, even the thunder and lightning on Murong-Su's 9 profound thunder god transformation were dyed black for a while. At this moment, Murong-Su has completely reached a higher level. Wrapped in thunder, with a Taoist weapon in his hand, he dominated the world. At this moment, Murong-Su instantly suppressed Wu Yu. Of course, Wu Yu also completed several changes when the opponent was performing the 9 mysterious thunder god transformation, showing his strongest posture. First, the Immortal Ape transformation. Under the Xuanhuan immortal armor, the Immortal Ape transformation, which was blazing all over at this time, was more and more similar to the Peerless Monkey King in the visualization Mind Ape. Facing an opponent like Murong-Su, this golden ape was extremely ferocious. Second, the Lawless Clone. With a blow of the monkey hair, it was instantly divided into 100. Recently, he often used this great magical power, but he made great progress. The control of the clone was always improving. Maybe it won't be long before he can reach the 4th level. The clones instantly dispersed, each holding a magic weapon. Among the many clones, Wu Yu's original body was the leader. This time, Wu Yu did not hide it. He stood in the center of the clones. When the two sides turned over, the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword appeared in his hands at the same time for the first time. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. People saw that the golden ape held a sword in each hand, one golden and one black. On the blades, there were magnificent mountains and rivers and the sun, moon, and stars. The two swords were extremely simple and very old at first glance. Perhaps the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword were originally close to the existence of Taoist weapons, so when facing the chaotic thunder sword, the two swords did not bow their heads at all. Under Wu Yu's control, the two swords drew a famous ancient trajectory and confronted the chaotic thunder sword head-on. It took only a moment for the two to confront each other and sacrifice the magic weapon at this moment. At this moment, the Eye of Thunder and Wu Yu's Eye of Flame collided instantly. Everyone's heart twitched. At this moment, thunder swept, and the golden light and flames on Wu Yu's body burst out. For a moment, the rage surged, and collided with the endless flashing thunder. In an instant, the two violent forces of thunder and fire collided, causing a fierce explosion, and the entire ancient battlefield was filled with countless smoke and dust. Boom boom boom. In the chaos of the collision of thunder and fire, Wu Yu led hundreds of clones and collided directly with Murongsu. For a moment, the double swords plus the clones' hundreds of swords fought against Murongsu's mixed thunder sword. The real fight came, and the scene was extremely hot and enthusiastic. Ordinary cultivators couldn't see the battle situation clearly at all. It's best to kill Wu Yu, the traitor. It saves him from going back to my Shushan to embarrass himself on the side of Shushan Xianmen, Chen Fuyu said to his companions. He saw that Wu Yu was definitely suppressed by Murongsu now. Dao weapons, beyond their current level, are really terrible. Bang bang bang. Under the rush of black lightning sword energy, golden apes exploded in Murongsu's hands. At this moment, Murongsu held the Taoist weapon and fought indifferently. He crushed the opponent at the beginning. No one expected that he, who possessed the Chaos Thunder Sword, would be so terrible when he rushed at this moment. Wherever the black lightning sword energy went, Wu Yu could not stop it at all. So, people almost began to count the time when Wu Yu would be defeated. If this goes on, he won't be able to hold on for 3 breaths, someone said confidently. Tear. Another sword energy fought and killed Wu Yu's clone. Wu Yu, you are so good at this level, and you still dare to brag. With a whoosh, Murongsu appeared in front of him, and the Chaos Thunder Sword was across his chest, forcing Wu Yu. It's too early to say this now. Wu Yu was surrounded by a blazing golden flame. He walked out of the flame, moving forward without hesitation, and shot towards Murongsu. Humph, then try my mixed thunder sword array. Murongsu smiled coldly, his movements were elegant, high above, and he attacked with the sword. At this moment, the mixed thunder sword made a fierce roar, and the black thunder and sword energy intertwined and swept away, forming a pitch-black thunder sword array. This is obviously one of the attacking magic weapon arrays. You only need to have this mixed thunder sword and figure it out to perform it. Murongsu rushed with the sword, and there were tens of thousands of black electric snakes on the mixed thunder sword array. Like real black snakes, they moved up and down at a terrible speed, and they were hundreds of miles in a flash. Raising the sword to the sky, the mixed thunder sword array exploded, and the whole world was occupied by this black thunder. Wu Yu became a sweet potato in the eyes of countless electric snakes. You are finished. Murongsu smiled softly, and his hands moved quickly. At this moment, Wu Yu suddenly jumped up. When everyone thought he was in danger, he was entangled by electric snakes, and he magically wielded the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword at the same time. The movements of both hands were completely different, but they were not affected by the other hand, as if Wu Yu was now divided into two and became two people. In anger, the golden Emperor Hong sword pierced in front of his eyes, drawing a circle in front of Wu Yu's eyes. The circle suddenly turned into a golden wheel. Suddenly, it rotated at high speed. The golden wheel and the Emperor Hong sword overlapped. For a moment, the golden light shone, and the dazzling golden light suddenly burst out. People closed their eyes one after another, as if a scorching sun really appeared in this ancient battlefield. Emperor Sword Wheel. In the sword wheel, it was as if there was a heavenly emperor sitting in it, with terrifying power. At the same time, his left hand made different movements. The Black Emperor Kui sword pierced out almost at the same time, and the magic circle was activated. In an instant, a jet black flame sword energy suddenly turned into a giant beast burning with black flames. The giant beast had a chaotic shape and a huge mouth. It was on the left and right of the Emperor sword wheel, and it burst out instantly, killing towards the mixed thunder sword formation. This is the Ghost Fire Devouring Heart Sword. The peak showdown is about to begin. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 428. At this moment, it is easier for people to see clearly when they are high in the sky. Murong Su was holding the Thunder Dao sword. On top of the Thunder Dao sword, a sword formation emerged. Countless thick black electric snakes rushed around, annihilating everything wherever they went. In front of his eyes, Wu Yu's swords rushed out. One hand was a huge golden sword wheel, and the other hand was like holding a giant will-o'-the-wisp beast. They were ferocious and cruel. In the blink of an eye, they collided fiercely on this ancient battlefield. At that moment, thunder rioted, everything exploded to pieces, golden sword energy flowed everywhere, black flames roared away, and the entire ancient battlefield was submerged in this chaos. This is definitely the most brutal collision since the war began. Murong Su indeed showed a very high level with his Thunder Dao sword, but Wu Yu greeted him with the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword. They seemed evenly matched, which was really shocking. Of course, most people still feel that Wu Yu cannot withstand the full force of the Thunder Dao sword. At the moment when thunder, flames, and sword energy swept across, Wu Yu's clones were almost completely annihilated. It was difficult for people to see clearly where the two people were during the close fight. At this moment, a figure rushed out from the sword array. Everyone took a closer look. It was Murong Su, who was wearing Xuanhuan immortal armor. He looked a little embarrassed, with messy hair, and even the 9 mysterious thunder god transformation on his body. Lifted, apparently destroyed. People couldn't help but be shocked. It seemed that they had underestimated Wu Yu. He could actually make Murong Su so embarrassed. It was a state of mind. Is Wu Yu defeated? This confrontation was so brutal, wouldn't he be killed in battle? He should not be dead. After all, there are still people below, but I estimate that he has been severely injured and cannot move. Just when everyone was discussing, a golden figure suddenly rushed out. The man was holding 2 swords, one on the left and one on the right. He was also wearing Xuanhuan immortal armor, and he was also Wu Yu. At this time, Wu Yu was still an immortal. In the ape transformation state, there is no serious injury at all. Except for a few burnt black patches on the body, which are recovering quickly at this time, there are no other scars, which makes people a little hard to believe. In this scene, it seemed as if Murong Su, who had been suppressing Wu Yu, had the upper hand. How is this possible? People looked at the faces of the strong men. Sure enough, several generals were a little stunned by the result. After all, Murong Su was holding a Taoist weapon. Wu Yu knew the answer. The Taoist weapons are very terrifying, but Murong Su has only mastered less than 1/10 of them. With his current level, the power of the Taoist weapons is limited. Therefore, when Wu Yu's swords came out at the same time, the Heavenly Emperor's sword will and the Ghost Fire Heart-Eating Sword exploded at the same time. But instead suppressed the opponent and left many scars on the opponent's body. However, Murong-Su is still very strong. He is only slightly injured now, which is not worth mentioning. Moreover, Murong-Su obviously has more powerful methods. At this moment, Murong-Su should be angered by Wu Yu. Shusan banished you, and you really missed a peerless genius. However, it is impossible to suppress me, Murong-Su. He is usually very gentle, but now on this decisive battlefield, no matter how elegant a person is, he will be decisive. Fight with all your might. Wu Yu, you have no eyes with magical power. If you can't hold on, you will surrender. I don't want to kill you. At this moment, thunder flashed in Murong-Su's eyes. He raised the Thunder Dao sword and said in a loud voice. General Murong seemed to be very proud of such a son. After all, he had trained him with all his efforts. Thank you for reminding me. However, I also give the sentence to you, Wu Yu said with scarlet eyes and gritted his teeth. At this moment, he did feel a bit out of his depth. He was still younger than Murong-Su. But, are you about to give up? Impossible. At this moment, he imagined Murong-Su as Baishan Mo. They are all darlings. It's been less than 3 years. If he wants to go back with an upright identity, then he needs the handsome emperor. So today, he can never be defeated, just like on the promised day, he can never be defeated. When he thought like this, his eyes became even more fiery, and the volcanoes on his body erupted and roared continuously. His physical body, the indestructible body, was far more powerful than what he had shown so far. Snort. Murong-Su reminded him and was choked. He was immediately annoyed. In anger, he didn't control his sense of proportion. This time, he raised the Thunder Dao sword and used a magical power. Another kind of magical power. Wu Yu had heard that it was a magical power called Heavenly Tribulation Black Lightning. It was a black lightning that could only be experienced by a cultivator who wanted to overcome the tribulation and ascend from the 9 heavens. Even if it was just the lethality that a tiny bit can produce is terrifying. This was Murong-Su's sure kill method. He had used it in Yanzhen. However, the one who took over the Heavenly Tribulation Black Lightning was not the Thunder Dao sword. Now, using the Thunder Dao sword to punish would undoubtedly be terrifyingly tyrannical. Just do what Murong-Su said. The magical power of the Great Dao only takes a moment. At that moment, a black lightning shot out from the blade of the sword, turned into a flying bird, and rushed into the endless sky in an instant. For a time, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Of course, this dark cloud is within the magic circle of Yanhuang Emperor City. And there are thousands of lightnings in the dark clouds. Now under the concentration of the flying birds, thousands of lightnings seem to be sucked in, and they all collide together and are actually merging. First, it condensed into a lightning ball 3 feet in diameter, and then condensed and compressed at a terrifying speed. With a whoosh, it was only a black lightning the size of a thumb. Then it was compressed again, and the black electric wire was only as thick as a hair. However, around this hair-thick electric snake, the dark clouds collapsed, and even the space seemed to be distorted. This is just a little bit of black lightning. The black electric light came down in an instant, and fell on the Hanyai Dao sword in the blink of an eye, and merged with the Hanyai Dao sword. At this time, the magic circle on the Hanyai Dao sword shone, and there was a trace of lightning. Dancing on the sword, the lightning was so powerful that even the ground was dented under its suppression. Wu Yu Murong-Su suddenly raised his head and pointed his sword at Wu Yu. At this moment, people are almost suffocating. Prior to this, Wu Yu had replaced his swords with Yanhuang Optimus Prime. He was still standing in front of Murong-Su and seemed to have made no other moves. You give up, Murong-Su warned him with black lightning. Impossible. Wu Yu's tone was extremely firm and affirmative. No matter what the cost, he must win this battle. If he waits until the second battle to compete with Qin Fu, his energy and will definitely not be as good as now. To hold on forcefully is to seek death. Murong-Su could completely control the Black Lightning, and the longer the Black Lightning stayed on the Hun Lei Dao sword, the more powerful it became, so he was not in a hurry. If you shrink back from cultivating immortality along the way, you will not be qualified to understand the great path, Wu Yu replied decisively. This is his way and cannot be shaken. Murong-Su smiled and said, "You are exactly the same as Li Kahai, why bother yourself? It is a wrong way to practice Taoism so hard and torment yourself." Murder and heartbreaking, Murong-Su's words are actually the most terrifying murderous intention. However, Wu Yu's mind was firm. How could he be wavered? He said word by word, "No, I am different from him. He is in pain, but I enjoy this. And I am willing to pay and pursue it for the rest of my life." As soon as these words came out, there was a roar everywhere, and everyone felt deafened and enlightened. It can be seen how determined Wu Yu was at this time. "In that case, I will break your evil ways." Murong-Su was angry, and with a sword in his hand, the black lightning that had been prepared for a long time instantly burst out, turning into an electric snake, and surged towards Wu Yu to engulf him. At this moment, everyone is suffocated. The black lightning was very fast. That murderous intention comes from the catastrophe of heaven and earth, which shows how terrifying it is. However, in Wu Yu's eyes, he felt that his speed was very slow. Now, under the strong pressure of the opponent, his mental will had entered a mysterious state. He could clearly and slowly feel the murderous intention of his opponent. "Of course, the opponent is powerful, but I still want to win." The flames in his eyes were extremely blazing. It was an unprecedented will that aroused all the flames in his body. Boom boom boom. Anger broke out in his body, and his whole body was roaring. The endless physical power completely suppressed his current weak alchemy power. It can be said that most of his current combat power comes from his indestructible body. I remember that day, the Xuanhuan Immortal sect was brutally exiled. People's cold eyes, Qiang Jiangxian slap, Nangong Wei's indifference, Bai Shenmo's murderous intention. He was unwilling to give in. This matter has not been settled yet, and it is not clear yet. The inner demons are haunting you, and you can't stand up until you are broken. Then I remembered that when I first saw the Ruyi golden cudgel, I heard the Monkey King tell me, "The body of Vajra is indestructible. After it is completed, it can penetrate the sky and the earth, kill 8,000 heavenly palaces, and break through 10,000 hells. It has a bronze head and iron bones, and the body is like 10,000 gold. The weapons of the gods cannot harm the body, and the heavenly tribulations cannot destroy the body. In heaven and on earth, immortal. As the saying goes, it reaches heaven and earth. As the saying goes, kill 8,000 heavenly palaces and break through 10,000 hells. As the saying goes, there is immortality in heaven and earth. How could this great magical power make me frightened and give in on my own? Impossible." At this moment, under the extreme passionate will, in the path of enlightenment, the black lightning was right in front of him, and Wu Yu only did two things. First, wield the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, sweep away with the Yandi opening formation, and suddenly collide with the black lightning. Second, transform into the inner Vajra Buddha, sit cross-legged on the ground, motionless as a mountain. All of this exploded in an instant. When the Yanhuang Optimus Prime collided with the black lightning exploded. It immediately followed the Yanhuang Optimus Prime and bombarded Wu Yu's body. "On your body." However, Wu Yu was already a giant Buddha at this time, sitting cross-legged on the ground, motionless, as if still, nothing would be broken. Boom. For a moment, a raging electric light exploded, and people saw with their own eyes that Wu Yu was engulfed by lightning. First of all, the Yanhuang immortal armor on his body was directly blown into powder by the attack. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 429. At this moment, Wu Yu was completely swallowed up. Judging from his final resistance, it seemed that he had given up and chose to deal with it casually or resist forcefully again. For everyone, this approach is undoubtedly the stupidest. It is stubborn resistance and is completely meaningless. If he admits defeat and saves some strength, he might be able to fight Qin Fu, and he might even be able to enter the top 3. Indeed, from the beginning, Wu Yu was the weakest among the top 4. When the Black Thunder intertwined into a flower on the ancient battlefield, and Wu Yu, who was in the center of the flower, completely disappeared and was ravaged by endless lightning, people almost realized that this battle was actually over. Some people felt sorry and said, "Wu Yu must be in trouble this time. How long will it take to recover from such a serious injury? Poor him, he has wasted his training time. Even if he dares to go back to Xuanhuan, he will just be humiliated again." Some people found it funny and said, "This kid is so stubborn and terrifying, but it's all stupid behavior. He clearly knows that he is not his opponent, so why bother to hold on? Now it's better." He was seriously injured and lost everything. For example, Xuanhuan Xianmen Chenfui's side, a group of people didn't even care to say anything, they just burst into laughter, which was so relieved that they could hardly breathe. This roar of laughter allowed outsiders to guess how much the Xuanhuan immortal sect hated Wu Yu. In fact, they knew what happened to Wu Yu. In this way, it only showed that these young disciples in Xuanhuan really had no tolerance. This Yanhuang Emperor city was indeed more suitable for Wu Yu than the immortal sect in Xuanhuan. It was only at this time that the terrifying thunder attack ended. Murong Su was sure that Wu Yu was hit head-on by the black lightning of the heavenly tribulation. Not only Wu Yu, but even he himself was hit. It was definitely half a bullet. His life was gone. Although Yanhuang immortal armor blocked it, Murong Su estimated that it would take Wu Yu at least half a year to recover. He rushed into the lightning. At this time, Wu Yu's situation was still uncertain. He had to wait for General Murong to declare victory before he could completely relax. In the lightning network, there was charred smoke and dust everywhere. Through the smoke and dust, Murong Su first saw the Yanhuang Optimus Prime. The Yanhuang Optimus Prime was stuck diagonally on the ground. The light was dim and seemed a little desolate. Next to the Yanhuang Optimus Prime, there was a person sitting there cross-legged. The person's body was charred and black, as if he had been cooked by electricity. His vitality was extremely weak. His appearance was ugly, his hair was gone, and his body was covered with scars. It was obvious that this is Wu Yu, and this is Wu Yu who was severely injured under the black lightning of the catastrophe. Seeing Wu Yu like this, Murong Su breathed a sigh of relief. This result clearly told him that the battle was over and ended in Wu Yu's disastrous defeat. General Murong hasn't seen Wu Yu's situation yet. If he had seen it, he would have declared victory or defeat directly. When Murong Su saw him like this, he could only smile and said, Wu Yu, why are you so stubborn? If you save some energy, it is still possible to get into the top 3. I have helped Fu. You will thank me." He was quite excited when he thought that Qin Fu Wei would have a good impression of him. Although he was very low-key and not many people knew him, at least a few people around him knew that he was really pursuing Qin Fu Wei, but Qin Fu Wei there are many suitors, and her own attitude is not very clear. Murong Su crossed his arms and reached out to extinguish the lightning around him and spread the smoke so that everyone could see Wu Yu's current situation. At this moment, he almost couldn't believe his eyes, and even thought he had seen it wrong. Incredibly, the man sitting cross-legged, covered in charred black, suddenly opened his eyes. Those eyes were like two suns suddenly appearing in the dark night sky, and the burning breath instantly made Murong Su's eyes sting. Wu Yu's eyes were full of enthusiasm, not like those of a severely injured person. It was at this moment that something unbelievable happened to him. The charred Wu Yu suddenly rose up, and instantly pulled out the Yanhuang Optimus Prime. Golden fire surged from his body, and his whole body roared like golden light. Mirong-su, the reaction was already too slow. When people were chatting and laughing easily, the smoke and dust below finally dispersed, and people could vaguely see Wu Yu and Mirong-su, who were all charred. Many people couldn't help but laugh at Wu Yu's ignorance and stupidity, and laughed at him for losing the competition for the top 3. Opportunity, but for just a moment, the man with weak vitality and charred body suddenly took action. At that moment, the golden light shined again. Yellow Emperor's ground formation. When the stick hit him, even if Mirong-su hid quickly and temporarily intertwined many power grids, Wu Yu could not stop Wu Yu from rising up at this moment. In an instant, the Yanhuang Optimus Prime bombarded him and immediately gave way to Mirong-su. With a muffled groan, blood splattered everywhere. Wu Yu, Mirong-su screamed in pain. Boom boom boom. At close range, Wu Yu was simply a devil, and the Thunder Dao sword in Mirong-su's hand was immediately thrown away by Wu Yu. Next, the blackened Wu Yu's violent attacks were bombarded one after another. In Mirong-su's body, the speed was terrifying. In a short period of time, hundreds of sticks smashed all the bones in Mirong-su's body. Mirong-su's eyes widened and he fell limply to the ground. At this time, he didn't even understand what happened. What happened? He couldn't even figure it out, let alone anyone else. People saw a very strange scene. Wu Yu, who was charred like a corpse, suddenly jumped up. His movements were terrifyingly fast. When Wu Yu got close to him, especially after losing the initiative, Mirong-su had no power to fight back. People clearly saw that Wu Yu almost completely abolished Mirong-su's ability to move in a very short time. His attack was real. Yanhuang Optimus Prime directly hit his body. The sound of bones breaking was clearly audible. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. General Mirong's eyelids twitched. If he hadn't reacted yet, he would have gone to intercept. However, when Mirong-su fell down, Wu Yu, who was charred all over, stood up with Yanhuang Optimus Prime. His mind was blank and he watched all this blankly. Not only him, but everyone around him was like this. When people began to congratulate Mirong-su, what happened was simply a miracle. Actually, it was nothing. Wu Yu relied on his indestructible body to hold on. Although he was seriously injured, his whole body was now in pieces, especially after he used a violent spell to finally defeat Mirong-su. Now his injuries were even more serious and it was difficult to attack again. In fact, from the time he had an indestructible body to now, Wu Yu had not suffered such a serious injury. This was also the first time he experienced this feeling. Being entangled by the black lightning of the heavenly tribulation was simply worse than death. At least most of Wu Yu's flesh and blood had died and needed a long time to recover. He could still stand now, all by his breath, but at least he was standing, while Mirong-su was now unable to move. If Wu Yu was seriously injured again, it would still kill him at this time. At the moment of death, it was the Tao that allowed him to hold on. Of course, the indestructible body of Vajra was originally part of his Tao. He underestimated this Vajra indestructible body. With this body, even if he and Mirong-su suffered the same injury, he could still get up and kill Mirong-su. This is the advantage of a strong body. The phrase immortality is no joke. It sounds easy, but Wu Yu is horrified when he thinks of the process of enduring the black lightning of the heavenly tribulation. But if he is given a choice, he will still do it. Because this time, he cannot lose. Not only must he get the promise of the Emperor, but he must also strengthen his Tao, the Tao of invincibility. Now, the black lightning of the heavenly tribulation directly turned most of Wu Yu's flesh and blood into charcoal, but he relied on his golden bones and tendons to hold on. The indestructible body of Vajra is strong enough, and he is only the outer layer, which was burned. Now he can still stand, also relying on terrifying willpower. Even if he wins now, the terrifying pain still does not disappear. Even within a month, he couldn't even think about recovering. He forced himself to hold back, took out the Emperor's sword, and put it against Murongsu's back, then looked up at General Murong and said, "General, I can kill him on the spot now. May I ask, am I the winner this time?" This question made those millions of people gasp. General Murong was also a man who had experienced the world. He felt a little scared for Wu Yu's will that exceeded the limits of human beings, but he still couldn't accept that his most precious thing was defeated like this. He was furious for a while, gritting his teeth and said, "Wu Yu, who told you to use such a despicable method?" Wu Yu was stunned and said, "General, I think I can't deal with his heavenly tribulation black lightning, so I relied on this flesh and will to force myself to hold on, and only fought back with one breath left, and then I took him down. What kind of despicable method is this?" General Murong was speechless. Yes, Wu Yu was fair and square. Even if Murongsu relaxed a little at the last moment, as the saying goes, all is fair in war. In the world of cultivation, who is fair and square with you? General Gu said beside him, "Murong, the winner is decided. Announce it. Don't let people laugh at you. There are so many people paying attention to the Yanzhen, and General Murong certainly can't be partial. So no matter how depressed he is at the moment, he can only wave his hand and say, 'Wu Yu won this battle.' 2 days later, Yu and Luo Bin will compete for the first place, and Murongsu and Qin Fuwei will compete for the third place. The final word. Wu Yu miraculously defeated Murongsu." People looked at him in astonishment. He was charred and ugly. It was hard to believe that they were all human beings. Why could he have such terrible willpower? Is he still a human being? People now know very well how Wu Yu finally won. The horror of the physical defense is one aspect, forbearance is one aspect, and the wisdom of fighting is one aspect. What is more terrible is the willpower and persistence. This is what people think is the most terrible about Wu Yu. His character and his ways are more frightening than his real abilities. In this case, who has the right to say that he is not worthy of being in the top 3? At least, it is now certain that the Emperor will fulfill his promise. For a moment, even the Red Shadow Sword Saint of Shushan Xianmen took a few steps back, his face dark. To be honest, he wanted to rush up and kill Wu Yu right now, and put an end to it all. Looking back, his sons and the young people of Shushan all looked at Wu Yu blankly, with fear in their eyes. At 2200 hours in the evening, there is still one chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 430. At least today's battle is completely over. Today, Wu Yu successfully wrote his own myth in this ancient battlefield. If he was known to the cultivators of Shenzhou because of Nangong Wei and because he was exiled, he is now famous and respected by his real strength. People with such a strong will are the most worthy of people's admiration. When Wu Yu was charred all over but did not fall, it also directly showed that he was upright in his heart. Even if he was exiled from Shushan, he insisted on his own way and was unwilling to be shaken by others, even if the other party was Qiang Sword Immortal, even if the other party was about to become his Taoist partner. After General Murong finished his announcement, he asked General Gu and General Qin to take charge, and he hurriedly helped Murongsu up. A more critical battle would be fought the day after tomorrow, and he must make his precious son recover quickly. Wu Yu. Even if Murongsu was unwilling, he was a little awed at this moment when he faced this person who was charred by him and still standing. After so many years, this is the first young man who caused him a violent shock, and he is younger than him. Wu Yu is different from Luo Bin. Luo Bin won by hiding her strength, which only shows that she hides it deeply. He is not a real dark horse. If we talk about dark horses, Wu Yu is. In fact, everyone can see how strong he is. He defeated Li Kahai and Murong Su in succession, relying on combat wisdom and will, which is still relatively rare in the battle of immortals. Mortals are weak, so they will try their best to rack their brains and win with wisdom. Wu Yu was born as a mortal and has been tempered on the battlefield, so he still has the consciousness of a mortal warrior. He cleverly uses it in battle, and combined with the lawless clone, it really has unimaginable miraculous effects. General Murong quickly took Murong Su away, and Wu Yu should also return to his position to heal his wounds. However, in his current state, it was difficult for him to even return to the preparation platform. At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. It turned out to be Luo Bin. Her azure eyes looked at Wu Yu softly. Without saying much, she pulled Wu Yu and brought him back to the preparation platform. When she pulled him to fly, Wu Yu looked at her back, felt the delicacy and softness of her palm, and then smelled the faint fragrance, which was refreshing, and he was a little absent-minded for a while. He suddenly felt warm. This world of cultivation is so cruel. He was seriously injured, and she was the first person who thought of taking him back. But this gentleness was only for a moment, and in a blink of an eye, they arrived at the preparation platform. There were only him, Luo Bin and Qin Fu Wei left here. After she brought Wu Yu here, she gently pulled out her palm, then took out a jade bottle, and said, "I have a source essence pill here, which should have a better effect on your injury. Take it." Thank you. Wu Yu knew that this kind of pill was indeed more suitable than the other pills he had, and it was a top-grade elixir, which was very valuable. It took more than 300 Kanghai Yuankai pills to exchange for one. The injury was indeed very serious and needed to be recuperated quickly. If it was not timely, it might affect future cultivation. Now people looked at him with a startled look, but Wu Yu had no time to look at them. Qin Fu Hui came up at this time, her eyes flickered a little, and she probably didn't feel like provoking Wu Yu at this time. She said softly, "Congratulations, today you have fulfilled your long-cherished wish, and everyone, including me, has looked at you with new eyes." She was not bad, and Wu Yu didn't hate her, so he said, "I still hope that the three of us who went to Yongzi City can also enter the city lord's mansion together." Qin Fu Hui smiled coquettishly and said, "That's right, you have hurt Murong Su so badly, if I don't win again, I will be sorry for your brutality." She blinked her eyes, full of charm. Compared with Lupin, she was another kind of charm. "Don't disturb him to recover," Lupin suddenly said beside her. Qin Fu Hui rolled her eyes and said, "He is not your man, why do you care so much?" That said, but she still smiled at Wu Yu and let him heal himself. Of course, she had a more important battle to go. They both have their own personalities. Lupin didn't like to talk much, so she walked away a few steps at this time, not to disturb Wu Yu. Wu Yu calmed down, and the distant Shenzhen Jiao gave him a thumbs up. After seeing this, Wu Yu was completely relaxed. Looking at the Red Shadow Sword Saint and the others, their faces were ashen, but they felt refreshed. The pills given by Lupin were more effective than Wu Yu had imagined. In Minglong's words, this was not the source essence pill at all, or in other words, it was the one with better effects. It was suitable for nourishing and recuperating the body injured by thunder, and Wu Yu's own indestructible body had superb recovery and vitality. In fact, after the battle, new flesh and blood had already grown. After this round of thunder and killing, the newly born flesh and blood was even stronger. This was the result of the indestructible body of Vajra being tempered. While healing, Wu Yu did not forget to comprehend the great way. This battle, his inner determination, brought him unprecedented progress. He was already very close to the 10th level of the Golden Core Great Dao realm, and this good fortune made him directly understand many answers in his heart. So after a day, from the outside, he was still charred, but in fact, his flesh and blood were recovering rapidly under the nourishment of the Yuan Sheng Jingdan. Although it would take some time to fully recover, it was estimated to be 3 times faster than expected. Moreover, by this time, Wu Yu's progress in realm could no longer be hindered. His Danshan Jindan was still intact, and most of his body was intact. Therefore, when he was healing, he resolutely began to swallow the Kanghai Yuan Kai pill in full view of everyone and began to refine the Jindan. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. At this moment, refining the Jindan is simply 1,000 miles a day, and the effect is terrifying. This is why Wu Yu is so eager to seize the time. Everyone was stunned when they saw him frantically swallowing the Kanghai Yuan Kai pill. This is simply a monster. No one has ever done this. It can be seen that Wu Yu has indeed gained a lot in this battle. Time passed bit by bit, and everyone was watching him. As for Wu Yu himself, he was completely immersed in his own world of cultivation. He tempered all the things he had learned during this period on the golden elixir, forming a way of arranging the golden elixir. Under the vast Kanghai Yuan Kai Dan, the golden elixir was constantly growing. At this time, the deep golden elixir had reached its limit. Although it was a golden elixir, although it was only Dan Yuan, it was actually stronger than many purple mansion Yuan Li in the purple mansion Kanghai realm. Boom boom boom. The vast Dan Yuan surged in the body. In this Shenzhou land, Wu Yu is the well-deserved king of the flesh. He himself didn't know how much time had passed. Anyway, no one came to disturb him to participate in the last battle. After tempering nearly 400 Kanghai Yuan Kai Dan in a row, it was still not saturated and could continue to temper. After approaching the 500th, the golden elixir finally rushed to the 10th level, and the golden elixir was perfect. Buzz. Dan Yuan rolled in the body, and the golden Dan fire was also burning. Success. Before the end of the Yan battle, he relied on the strong perception he gained during the battle with Murongsu to directly sprint to the 10th level of the Golden Core Dao realm. Next, he can finally sprint towards the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm. At this moment, Wu Yu gradually calmed down under the power of suppressing himself. In fact, from the outside, he was still burnt all over, and there was a layer of dead skin on the outer layer of his body, but the inside was fine. It is estimated that it will take a few days to fully recover. Now he still looks very ugly. It was very noisy outside, and Wu Yu opened his eyes. It seemed that a battle was over. The ancient battlefield was very chaotic. Qin Fu Wei could be seen panting and floating in the wind. General Murong also came back. He looked very ugly and announced, "The winner of this battle is Qin Fu Wei." His son did not make it into the top 3. Millions of people cheered for Qin Fu Wei, and Qin Fu Wei had a surprised smile on her face. Although she looked pale at this time, she still looked towards Wu Yu. Wu Yu happened to finish his practice at this time. She smiled sweetly at Wu Yu and nodded, obviously thanking Wu Yu for giving her the opportunity to enter the top 3. Under normal circumstances, she could not beat Murongsu, who had a Taoist weapon. Murongsu was pitiful. He finally entered the top 4, but he still lost 2 games in a row with a Taoist weapon. At this time, he left angrily, causing many Taoist practitioners to make way for him. Qin Fu Wei was taken to the side under the careful care of General Qin. She had experienced a tragic battle and was also injured. Wu Yu did not expect that he missed this very exciting battle because of his practice. According to reason, the two of them would fight very fiercely to compete for the last spot. Looking at the expressions of the people who were still unsatisfied, it seemed that he knew. Wu Yu has made a breakthrough. He actually made a breakthrough here. This young man is really not simple. Now, there is something to watch. Yes, he was not Luo Bin's opponent at first, but now he has made a breakthrough. Not only has he surpassed Murong Su and others, but maybe he can even fight Luo Bin. The biggest suspense is the championship battle. However, Wu Yu is not interested. Even if he makes a breakthrough, he knows that he is not Luo Bin's opponent. General Murong's face is ugly, but the scene has to go on. He waved his hand and said, "Wu Yu, Luo Bin, let's start the final battle." Wu Yu thought about it. This battle is meaningless, and his injuries have not recovered yet. If he fights again, it will affect the subsequent recovery, so he stood up and was about to admit defeat directly. Unexpectedly, at this time, Luo Bin's crisp, quiet, and cold voice sounded directly, saying, "No need, I admit defeat in this battle." Wu Yu was one step ahead of her, and he didn't expect it. He looked at Luo Bin and the other party nodded to him. She just wants to enter the city lord's mansion. There is no difference between 5 million merits and 3 million merits for her, so it is normal for her to admit defeat. Thinking of this, he did not pretend to give in. General Murong asked, "Are you sure?" In fact, in the Yanzhen competition system, there are many times when the last two people give up directly, unless they are competing for 2 million merits. Luo Bin nodded. General Murong was discouraged and did not want to care about it. He announced loudly, "In this case, the fourth place in this Yanzhen is Murong Su, the third place is Qin Fuwei, the second place is Luo Bin, and the champion is Wu Yu." First place in Yanzhen. Wu Yu was a little dazed. He didn't expect that he would be the first in the end. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 431. The song ends and everyone disperses. Wu Yu became the first in Yanzhen and received 5 million merit. He originally exchanged the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword, and was left with more than 1,000 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills. In addition, Li Kahai stupidly sent 2,000. Although it took some to improve the realm, the total is still about 3,000. In this way, he is almost equal to 8 million in merit and wealth. Such wealth makes Zhang Suechuan an enviable rich man. Geniuses such as Qin Fuyu, who are protected by General Yanhuang, probably only have so much wealth at their disposal. However, Wu Yu has a problem. He can't keep money. If he has a little bit, he will find ways to spend it. At the end of the Yan War, the cultivators from all over the Divine Continent were shocked. Some left, and some stopped by the Yanhuang Emperor city. The Yanhuang Immortal Army also specially sent people to send off Xuanhuan Immortal sect, Shangyuan Dao sect and other great figures. Comrade of power. Before Wu Yu recovered from his injury, Shenzhen Jiao came over directly. He patted Wu Yu on the shoulder and said, "You have earned everything by yourself, and you will be the people of Yanhuang Emperor City from now on. You and Xuanhuan, I don't care about the past relationship between them. After all, Xuanhuan is not your enemy, but some of them have caused you to experience this. If you return to Xuanhuan in the future, at least Tianji Sword Immortal and I will welcome you." Wu Yu knew this well. Although the Xuanhuan Immortal sect left a bad memory, it was also a place where Wu Yu's soul lingered, and there were also people who were very important to him. After saying that, Shenzhen Jiao left with the team. "Wu Yu, get ready. In 10 days, I will take you to the city lord's palace." General Qin brought Qin Fuhuang over, explained a few words, and left with Qin Fuhuang. After all, Qin Fuhuang also wanted to go back and heal. Wu Yu also needed to return to Kishan camp to practice. At this time, the brothers and sisters from Kishan camp ran up. They were in an extremely excited mood and lifted Wu Yu high. If Wu Yu hadn't been injured, he would probably have gone to the hospital. Thrown away from heaven. A group of people were joking and laughing, which made outsiders very envious. This was also the joy of some people and the worry of others. Wu Yu was making trouble with the people from Kishan camp. When he looked back, he saw that Jiang Xuechuan had arrived next to Luo Bin, and the two of them walked back in silence. In fact, Wu Yu knew that Jiang Xuechuan and Luo Bai were two different people, and it was impossible for them to get along. It was just that Jiang Xuechuan didn't know his true identity and was just wishful thinking. In the fun, he quickly forgot about what happened there. He was very ostentatious along the way to Kishan camp until he returned to Kishan camp. Wu Yu looked at the Mosasaur camp next door and saw that Jiang Xuechuan and Luo Bin had already arrived. They were standing at the door and vaguely seemed to hear Jiang Xuechuan say, "I had some thoughts before, but now I find that you are not as simple as I thought. Your future is much brighter than mine. In fact, I think too much. Along the way of cultivation, the so-called gods and immortals must be equally matched. Now I understand that you have great potential and will always leave me behind. In this case, I will put away this Xian, concentrate on being your boss, is that okay?" Jiang Xuechuan is indeed a very magnanimous person. When he found out that there was actually a gap between himself and Luo Bin, he said it straightforwardly and would not cause any trouble to Luo Bin. "I am really grateful to you for being here." Luo Bin bowed slightly. "Okay, there is no need to be mentally burdened. That's how it is to practice Taoism. The most important thing is your own Tao. Don't be blind. I won't disturb you anymore. Take my leave." Jiang Xuechuan left quickly. Luo Bin stood at the door for a while and glanced at the playful Qi Tianying and the charred and funny Wu Yu. Wu Yu didn't know her expression, but knew that she must have smiled. "Commander, stop looking, the beauties are all gone," Wu Tianyu laughed. "I didn't expect Commander Wu, our #1 leader in the Yan War, to have such a naughty side." Zhen Yu covered her mouth and laughed. "Stop talking nonsense, be careful to beat you up." A group of people returned to Kishan camp. Thinking that he would enter the city lord's mansion in 10 days, time was still very tight, so he said, "Brothers and sisters, I may have to leave here for a while, and come out in half a year to reunite with you all. Commander, don't be polite to us. Seeing how burnt you are, go and recuperate. How can you enter the city lord's palace with two beauties like this? I found that our Commander Wu is really pretty. Needless to say, Qin Fu, this Commander Luo must be very good looking, and maybe he can even hug her." Everyone laughed. Under their teasing, Wu Yu returned to his mansion in embarrassment. He basically didn't waste any time and continued to take some elixirs. Now the power of thunder has been eliminated, but the power of the origin essence elixir is still there, and he needs to run the elixir. Yuan, bring it to the whole body to promote the growth of flesh and blood. The medicinal power of this origin essence pill made Wu Yu experience the warm feeling from the heart. After coming to Yanhuang Emperor City, Luo Bai and Qin Fui were both the kind of women who could overshadow Nangang Wei. They were both more mature and not as young and willful as Nangang Wei. And between the two, sometimes Luo Bin's simple words and actions really made him feel a little dazed. It's better not to worry too much about the love between children. I also learned a lesson in Shusan. Now in this land of China, I am only a genius, and far from the point of becoming an immortal. I'd better keep my feet on the ground. He began to recuperate. The medicinal power of the Yuan Sheng Jingdan is amazing. It looks similar on the outside, but the later it is, the more you find that it has a strong after effect. After about 7 days, Wu Yu completely recovered. The burnt flesh and blood on his body fell off. After a water purification spell, new flesh and blood and skin appeared. The new skin is smooth and translucent, like a newborn. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. My God, you have changed from a black face to a white face. This delicate look makes even me, an old lady, almost unable to control myself. Oh, so Shi Ming Long appeared outside and looked at him with saliva. Go to hell. I am a big man from Dongguo. Wu Yu stood up. The Yanhuang Immortal Army gave him a new Yanhuang Immortal armor. After he put it on, he looked at himself and found that his face, fingers, and other things were indeed much whiter. The skin looks like a woman, and it is the kind of peerless beauty. Damn, this is so tender that it's a bit disgusting. Wu Yu couldn't stand his fair and tender appearance. Don't be so naive, I don't know how many women envy your delicate skin. Ming Long rolled his eyes. Wu Yu was still a little embarrassed. Being so tender was not in line with his style. However, there were only 3 days left, and he had to complete the preparation quickly, otherwise he would have no preparation before entering the city lord's mansion. While he was recovering, his 100 clones were actually using Kanghai Yuan Kai pills to refine the golden elixir. After all, Wu Yu had improved his realm and also improved their upper limit. In the past few days, a large amount of Kanghai Yuan Kai pills had been consumed. After all, there were too many clones now, and each person consumed a huge amount of Kanghai Yuan Kai pills. When all of them were improved to the limit today, Wu Yu had already consumed 2,000 of the 3,000 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills left. He only had 5 million merits and more than 1,000 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills left. He went out first and exchanged 2 million merits for Kanghai Yuan Kai pills. During the recuperation in the past few days, he did not forget to ponder the magical power of the clone outside the law. In fact, after a lot of training and fighting, he has become much more familiar with the use of the clone. Now, among the clones, 10 are the strongest, and the other 90 are still slightly immature, and their Dan Yuan is not as strong as those 10. But when Wu Yu pondered to the 4th level, these 90 had improvements and changes, which should be considered as the perfection of the clones. In this way, their limit value has also increased. The reason why Wu Yu exchanged 2,000 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills, a total of 3,000 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills, is to spend on these 90 clones. It is only a matter of time for all the clones to be perfect, and the Dan Yuan in their bodies is not inferior to Wu Yu. Of course, to complete this step, it is certain that 5,000 Kanghai Yuan Kai pills will be directly consumed. The advantage is that the combat power of the clones has been greatly enhanced. In the next 3 days, the clones took the time to refine the golden elixir, while Wu Yu ran around in the inner city. He now has 3 million merits left. Wu Yu used 500,000 merits to replace all 100 clones with super spiritual instruments, which was a big deal. He spent another 500,000 merits to buy a large number of elixir refining methods, updated the alchemy furnace and various equipment for drawing arrays, and exchanged for many new arrays. There were 2 million merits left. Wu Yu took out another 1 million merits and exchanged for 2 heaven and earth mystical arts. These 2 heaven and earth mystical arts were mainly prepared for the clones, and of course he could also use them. These 2 heaven and earth mystical arts are naturally more powerful and terrifying than the Xianxian Jinghuan sword art and the prison dragon trap heaven art. After all, its value is close to that of the Emperor Hong sword and the Emperor Kui sword, and it is basically one of the most powerful heaven and earth mystical arts. One of them is suitable for mutual cooperation and multiple people to perform together. This is specially tailored by Wu Yu for the clones. You can imagine how terrifying it will be when it succeeds and the clones perform together. Its name is Nine Yang Kang Long Sword Formation. This heavenly and earthly art has the mystery of the fusion array. The practitioners stand on their own and form a sword array to attack. There are many such sword arrays in Shushan, and even in Tongtian sword sect. There is another one, which Wu Yu specially selected after seeing the power of Xianxian Jinghuan sword art, but this is a heavenly and earthly art that does not require the addition of magic tools. Its name is Annihilation Beast Soul Shaking Art. It is rumored that the Annihilation Beast is a demon that specializes in devouring souls. This Annihilation Beast Soul Shaking Art is learned from the Annihilation Beast. Of course, this is just a legend. Wu Yu took a look and found that there is not much about demons, but it is indeed a very powerful heavenly and earthly art, especially when 100 people perform it at the same time, the scene will definitely be very shocking. Wu Yu is using the great magical power of extra-legal clone to the extreme. Spending this much money can definitely create a super strong legion. He exchanged the remaining 1 million merits for Kanghai Yuankai pills and carried them with him. All prepared, 10 days will be up. Updates will be available at 1800 hours PM.